Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas, everybody. Hi there, everyone. A Christmas message, or knowing me, more like a short story. Anyhow, it's been 6 months since last Christmas, and here we are again. Yeah, it certainly seems like 6 months. Since the last Christmas, we have had the mix of the good, the bad and the ugly. So another typical year really. The mix varies from year to year, but the ingredients are the same. Some laughs, some highs, and with passing of friends comes the ugly. Several close acquaintances and many famous people decided to ride that big Christmas sleigh up into the heavens well before Christmas. For me, my stay in China has let me see and experience so much. And in February, I spent a month travelling to Vietnam from here, which I reported on before and recommend a trip there if ever you get the chance. A visit to the tunnels north of Ho Chi Minh City is a must, and for those of us who were about while the Vietnam War was on, a greater insight came from seeing the tunnels and hearing more about them and the life and lifestyles associated with that. As to be expected, there's a more serious side to what happened here than might otherwise be gleaned by watching the TV series that used to be on, which was called MASH. Now the airfare to get to Vietnam might seem a bit high, although not really. But once there, most things are inexpensive, such as food, drinks, accommodation and transport. And the beaches are a good place to relax with clean sand and comfortable beachside bars. At the beginning of the year, I was living in a small town of some 380,000 people, but not long after my return from Vietnam, I moved. The school I was teaching at didn't follow through on their promises. Even though I threatened to leave if they didn't come good, they still didn't heed the warning, and so I left. On to Guangzhou, where I'm currently living. This is more like the Big Smoke. Although saying Big Smoke, the pollution here is really not so bad, and especially for China. From what I've seen, there aren't that many large chimney stacks around to spill out great big plumes of black smoke. Car pollution is probably the main culprit for any early morning smog on a cool morning. Speaking of cool, Guangzhou, it is nowhere near as cold as it was in Lushi at the same time last year. Last year I was covered with clothing fairly much from head to toe for my early morning walk from the hotel to the school, and even though it was only a 12-minute walk, any parts that were exposed were quite chilled by that time, and even my feet got quite cold. And a few days before Christmas last year, it even snowed there. Here in Guangzhou, which is further south than Lushi and nearer the coast, we've had some coolish days, but in general the weather has allowed for wearing short sleeves on most days. Occasionally we get a cooler day or cooler nights, but so far nothing unbearable, by no stretch of the imagination. Guangzhou is a big city of some 8.5 million people and has many places to visit. Foreigners are aplenty here, whereas back in Lushi there was only the three of us three foreign teachers. No one here stops to want to take your picture, but I must say I haven't been to one wedding since I've arrived. You might remember back in Lushi I was going to more than one a month. With so much to explore here, I must admit I haven't really taken advantage of the opportunities. Most days I have off, I'm generally doing something, either for lessons or doing things on my computer, shopping and even the domestic bits and pieces. As an example of not getting out and about, I've been here 8 months, and even though I go in and out of the nearest underground station regularly, it's called the zoo, it was only this week that I actually visited the zoo. Each morning I wake to the sounds of the various creatures from the zoo, so it is fairly close to where I'm living, but I just hadn't got there. For your information, it's not expensive to get in, but the zoo is extensive and reasonably well presented. I've been informed there are something like 3 different zoos in and about the city of Guangzhou, but I doubt that I'll be rushing off to see the others. Another advantage of living in the big city is there are so many choices on where to shop and things that are available, especially in the supermarkets. In Lushi, the selection was poor and very limited, and when it came to going shopping for clothes and things, not only was the range limited, but even the sizes. So coming here is like a breath of fresh air. And also coming here meant coming to another province, and that has included then all different types of foods which are readily available. A lot of the food here is Cantonese style, much like what you'd expect from a Chinese restaurant, say back in Australia. But there are many choices here. Great. On to teaching, which takes up most of my days. Since moving here, the age of the students has lowered. Back in Lushi, the students were 15 to 17, but here some of my students are as young as 1 year old. Yeah, 1. I have to admit though that some of those little kids are just adorable, and if they were ice creams, you couldn't help but want to eat them. But the poor tykes, they can't even speak much Chinese, if any, so it's one heck of a struggle for both them and me to try to teach them English. While teaching another 2 to 3 schools, my agent was requested to move me to perhaps somewhere where the students could be older. At another school, the kids were 3 to 13, and I was told that I would be better placed at a couple of other schools, so off I went. One school is a 4-hour return trip for 80 minutes of teaching, and that's 3 days a week, and the kids there keep getting younger. When I began there, the students were 3 to 5 years old, but they then started introducing even the other, which are quite young, and again these are as young as 1 year old as well. At the second school that I teach at, the eldest is 3. Third school, and the ages range from 3 to 7, a bit easier to take and a bit easier to teach. But all in all, I've been more like an entertainer who sometimes gets to teach, which is quite wearing. I want to be a teacher who can also entertain. At the moment, I'm somewhat unsettled with those that I'm trying to teach and all the travelling about from one school to the next to do that. I've actually given my agent notice to finish with her at the end of this month, which is going to be next Saturday, subject to her finding me a better job. I've been here 8 months now, and each time she makes a move, as I've explained earlier, the situation gets worse, but also the money's not been as expected, so at the end of the month I need to make other choices about what I might do. One of the choices I have is returning to Australia much earlier than I'd originally planned. Anyway, enough about all that. The reason for making this video was to wish you well, happiness, health and some loving from wherever you can get it. May Christmas be peaceful, and of course you'll overindulge as you do each year. Be safe, be happy. Merry Christmas one and all, and the brightest of New Years. Ho 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 ho, Merry Christmas.